Today's news. Taehyung didn't move when Jungkook asked what he had been avoiding. What really happened behind V's silence? No one expected that one sentence from Jungkook could break the silence that Taehyung had built so tightly. In what should have been a relaxed meeting after practice, the simple question turned into a silent explosion that nailed Taehyung to the spot. "Hyung, why have you been avoiding me all this time?" Jungkook didn't shout, nor did he pressure, but that was what made the atmosphere even more tense. Taehyung just stared blankly, as if the words had hit his defensive wall until it cracked. The question now, what is Taehyung really hiding that he chooses to freeze when Jungkook demands clarity? The fact that these two biggest names in the K-pop industry, known to the public as always close, could be trapped in such an awkward situation, of course, makes millions of ARMY's eyes widen. Internal sources at HYBE revealed that the conversation took place spontaneously in the recording room on the second floor, around 11 p.m. local time. That night, several BTS members were still in the building to complete their solo projects. Jungkook had looked restless since arriving. According to a technical staff member who declined to be named, Jungkook paced back and forth in the hallway several times, appearing to weigh things over before finally opening the door to the studio where Taehyung was sitting alone with a guitar. As soon as Jungkook uttered the question, the atmosphere went silent. Taehyung literally froze, the staff member said. There was no answer, no movement. Only Taehyung's gaze that looked far away, as if staring at something that no one else could see but himself. This is not the first time the public has sensed a distance between the two. Since the Japan tour a few months ago, their interactions have started to decrease. Usually, Taehyung would be the first to tease Jungkook during a live, or at least appear in the comment section with his signature mischievous emoji. But lately, that familiarity has faded. ARMY had thought they were just busy with their respective schedules, but that night's incident confirmed. There was something bigger that was deliberately buried. What is Taehyung avoiding? According to another source close to BTS's manager, Jungkook had been holding back that question for a long time. Jungkook felt that Taehyung started to distance himself after he opened up about the mental pressure he experienced after the release of his global single some time ago. Jungkook felt he no longer received the same emotional support as before, even though Taehyung had always been his safe place. Ironically, it was Taehyung who seemed more stressed when asked for an explanation, like someone who had run out of words. He just looked down, holding the neck of his guitar tightly. Not once did he shift his gaze to Jungkook. The source said, the temporary suspicion is that Taehyung chose to avoid it because he was afraid of making the wrong move. In several previous interviews, Taehyung had mentioned that he often felt incompetent in providing emotional support. "I'm afraid that what I say will make people feel worse," he said in an interview last year. This fact is reinforced by the confession of a choreographer who is often with them in the practice room. He said that in the past few weeks, Taehyung had been looking more dreamy. Even during breaks, Taehyung usually immediately looks for Jungkook just to joke around. But now he is more often playing on his phone, sitting in the corner by himself. He said, this condition certainly raises its own concerns among ARMY. Moreover, the two have been dubbed soulmates by fans. Their togetherness on various occasions, from stadium concerts to meal sessions in the dorm, has always been a soothing highlight for fans. Now, the shadow that two people who are so close can freeze in silence just because of a question creates its own bitterness. However, internal sources assure that this is not the end of everything. In fact, after the long silence that night, Jungkook was reportedly sitting on the studio floor a few minutes later, staring at Taehyung for a long time before saying in a hoarse voice, "I'm not angry. I just want to know why you disappeared. That's all." And Taehyung, although still silent, seemed to start shedding tears. One of the BTS managers who saw the incident admitted that the moment was the most emotional point in their relationship. Taehyung finally covered his face with his palms, his shoulders rising and falling. That was the first time he had cried in front of Jungkook again in a long time, said the manager. Since that night, news within internal circles has mentioned that there have been small but meaningful changes. Taehyung has started appearing again in the dorm dining room at the same time as Jungkook. They were caught on camera by staff sitting next to each other, although they didn't talk much, but at least they were no longer keeping their distance. "It takes time to unravel all of this," said one of the HYBE production team members. But they both don't want that relationship to really crack. So, what is ARMY's response? This global fandom community seems to be holding its breath, waiting for a positive signal. Recently, Taehyung finally gave a subtle code through an Instagram story upload. He shared a portrait of the night sky with a caption, "Sometimes it takes silence to hear the most important voice." Many interpret that as a message for Jungkook, or for himself. On the other hand, Jungkook also caused a stir when in his short live streaming, he answered fans' questions about which member he most wanted to talk to lately. His answer was short, but full of meaning: Tae. Now the public can only wait whether their openness will reach the stage of pouring out their hearts completely. Many Korean entertainment analysts say this could be an important phase, not only for Taehyung and Jungkook's friendship, but also for their emotional stability amidst the increasingly crazy global career pressures. Because in the end, one thing became clear that night: Taehyung's silence was not just his eccentric, quiet habit. That silence was a shield, fear, and perhaps guilt that he had been hiding tightly all this time. And when Jungkook decided to ask honestly, all of that began to crack, giving both of them a chance to start again. Albeit slowly, carefully, whatever happens next, that night in the studio has etched an important note in the history of their friendship. The courage to ask and the courage not to run away again, being the first step towards a recovery that not only they need, but also millions of people who love them. But behind all these emotional stories, a much more evocative question arises. Are you really sure that everything you just read is a real event? Or is this just a narrative construction born from snippets of content on TikTok, ambiguous portraits on Twitter, edited clips on YouTube, and lengthy speculation in the comment section? Is this an honest recording of the dynamics of two K-pop superstars struggling with their relationship? Or is it just a mosaic of stories put together for one thing, to grab your attention? Let's explore more critically. We know that the sources of information circulating regarding Taehyung freezing in silence when asked by Jungkook mostly come from fanbase accounts, short video snippets without full context, or anonymous internal rumors. Who ensures that the emotional conversation quotes really happened? Who confirmed that Taehyung really shed tears that night? Are we just enjoying a story that is so neatly framed that it seems as if it were real? On the one hand, you might feel touched, even holding your breath when reading how Taehyung couldn't bear to answer Jungkook's question. But on the other hand, don't you also doubt a little why there is no official documentation from the company? Why HYBE, which is usually quick to release clarifications when rumors about BTS members heat up, doesn't say a word about this emotional drama? Is their silence a deliberate omission to maintain public curiosity, or proof that this story never actually happened? Please share your opinion in the comment section, or discuss this with your ARMY friends. Are you sure this is all real, or just a product of media sensationalism? Let's remain critical, stay warm, and most importantly, continue to humanize the idols we love. Thank you for reading with an open heart.